Do you like movies, comic books, science fiction, and more? Then you've come to the right place. This is the Rebel Radio Podcast. You can find us at therebelradiopodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome to a new episode of the Rebel Radio Podcast, live from Eternia. This is Mark.
This is Matt.
This is Long, the master of the universe.
Yes.
The master of the universe.
I mean, the podcast can take place from Eternia since the movie sure as hell doesn't, except for about 5 minutes. But we'll get to that in just a bit. Yeah, so how are you guys, man? This week feels like, every now and then you go through the year and you have these weeks that just feel like twice as long. And this is one of those weeks, man. I feel like it's been an eternity since we podcasted, even though I know it's only been 7 days, or 6 days because we recorded Saturday. But Jesus, man, this just feels like the week that was never going to end. And I don't really know why. Work was just extra busy, a lot going on, getting the kids ready for school. It just made this week feel ridiculously long.
Yeah, it is been a very trying few months lately. So, been doing other people's jobs, and I just don't want to think about work anymore.
That's what happens when you get really good at your job. You get to do other people's too.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, you know what? You're great.
Permitless open carry cannot come here soon enough.
Why is that long? Are you gonna shoot some motherfuckers or something?
He's gonna walk around like Yosemite Sam.
No,
you make me mad. I kill you.
No, I'm just gonna blow my brains out in front of the office.
So,
and just say, hey, you guys drove me to this point. Goodbye.
You better not become a news story, man. Okay, because that would seriously bum me out.
Buy a noose and then hang myself from one of the conveyor belts from the warehouse. So it's like, hey guys, keep loading those trucks. Want to see a new ceiling decoration? Whee! I jump off and start hanging from the ceiling like a chandelier.
James Gunn called. James Gunn called. He wants his morbid sense of humor back.
This podcast.
Where did he learn it from, fool? What did you think he learned it from?
He learned it from you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeesh.
Nice.
But I'm playing Final Fantasy, so that's keeping me from going insane.
There we go. So. Positive.
How's the knee, Matt? Have you had to use it this week? Go back to work.
I've been hobbling around the office. I've gotten better. I went to therapy today, and you have a hot
therapist at least.
She's all right. She's all right. She's not for me, but
he's like, how do I answer that? Is Jackie in the room?
Yeah. I was messing with Jackie because I was like, she had to massage my hip flexor, and she's like, ooh, and I was like, yeah, it's getting pretty serious. And she's like, so you leaving me for her? I said, no. I was like, she's vanilla. I need some spice in my life. She's not spicy enough. And she just laughed. But yeah, I almost feel like I could walk without this thing. Almost. Feel a lot more comfortable now. I get my sutures taken out next Friday, so we'll see what happens after that. But,
cool.
Yeah, going good.
You are now one with the surgery world.
Yes.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
Real surgery. Wisdom teeth, I feel like it didn't count, really.
Yeah, No, because that's something that's, yeah. Because, that's just pulling teeth. That's not really, surgeries when they actually cut into your frickin' body and take something out or repair something. So, no, you're definitely one with the surgery world now.
Yeah.
I still have a little scar on my belly from where they took out my gallbladder. And
Man,
I'm just gonna let it ride if I have something weird affliction. I'm not paying any medical bills.
Good Lord, dog. If my appendix bursts, fuck it. I'm just gonna let it burst.
Yeah,
exactly. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go.
If my acid reflux is so bad, they're not going to cut my stomach open and let it, I'm just going to fill up with acid and let it burn my soul and my heart.
I probably deserved it. No.
Man, I think it's time for some happiness. Do we need to sing happy songs on the podcast today?
We're have to sing the Barney song.
Oh, that was worse.
Dude, that would make me want to fucking cut my wrist. On that note,
you killed both your friends today.
Huh?
Oh shit, man! The fucking Barney song. Good Lord,
the Barney song.
Matt, well, you were 88, so you were about almost the Barney generation, weren't you?
No, he was 86. A Teletubby. Teletubbies.
My sister was. She was born 91. She loved Barney. I had to go see Barney with her. They had at the summit. They had Barney.
Y'all remember a show?
Yeah,
Long might remember. Do you remember Sharon Lewis and Bram's Elephant Show? That was real popular. My sister liked that.
No, but I do remember Lamb Chop. That Lamb Chop show.
Oh yeah, my sister liked Sharon Lewis and Bram, so my parents made us go to Jones Hall, and they bought tickets for like their live show, and I was probably 13, 14 years old, and at that point I already was old enough to know that something sucks, and I was like, I had to sit through that. Oh my God, this sucks. But it was for my sister, so I guess she enjoyed it. But yeah, that's weird things you saw when you were a kid. And I'm going to keep it closer to our genre. One of the weirdest things I ever saw, I remember, before we get into download this, was I remember that they had like these guys dressed up like Transformers at Aquarina Springs, which was a theme park out near San Marcos, which is recently closed in recent years. But yeah, and I remember my parents taking us to see that, and they had these Transformers doing like this stunt show in like these weird costumes, and they even jumped in the water to try to tie the springs into it. I'm like, and the costumes looked horrible when they got wet. It was really weird. I remember even as a kid going, what the fuck am I watching? This isn't Transformers, You're kind of smart enough to realize that. Yeah, I was one of those kids. I was smart enough to realize that they're pulling my leg. This isn't, So yeah, weird things you see as a kid. I'm sure we've all had something. Yeah. But people in costumes never freaked me out. Like Michael when he was little, he didn't like Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, all that stuff dressed up. Now he's okay, but when he was little, he was kind of like, yeah. But they do make those costumes kind of creepy. Yeah. I mean, Matt's dressed up as a polar bear for Coke. No, but the Easter Bunny and some of that does look kind of creepy. And some of the mascots they have at stadiums and stuff can be a little off.
Some of the old timey photos, the black and white photos from the back in the day, they don't look very cutesy.
Yeah.
They look kind of nightmarish.
No. Some of that Mickey Mouse stuff is creepy, yeah.
Yeah.
But it made for a great movie moment when Van Damme fought the mascot in Sudden Death. Such a cheesy fight scene, but also this is kind of cool. Die Hard in a hockey rink. What an awful movie. But it had the Great Powers Booth in it.
Yeah.
That's probably the best part of that movie. It's the Great Powers Booth. He was awesome in it.
Powers Booth.
Yeah, they were talking about. Yeah, great actor, great character actor. Well, bye. My favorite movies of all time. So let's get into download this, where we tell people what we watched, streamed, played, checked out this week. I forgot that the second episode of What If came out, so I did not watch it yet. I'll have to watch this week.
You didn't watch it?
No, I forgot.
What If?
But I did watch a movie I had never seen. Had you all ever seen The Losers, based on the DC comics? With Idris Elba's in it, Chris Evans. I watched that. I'm like, it's actually pretty entertaining.
It's a very good movie.
Yeah, it was
Zoe
definitely
Saldana.
more. Yeah, Jeffrey D. Morgan's great in it, and I'm like, it's one of those hyperkinetic action movies where they use the fancy editing and stuff like that to make it look like it's more exciting than it might actually be on film, But overall, it was a very entertaining movie. It's they have Chris Evans playing that typical kind of good looking silly guy, which is kind of weird, but it was a pretty enjoyable film. I mean, it's predictable as fuck, but it's still a fun watch. Jason Patrick playing a eccentric, weird bad guy. And I was like, oh, that's the guy for Speed 2. I wonder what happened to him. So he's playing B villains in comic book movies now. But interesting, decent little action film I had never seen before. So I watched that, and then I felt. No, I watched that last week. That was when I talked about Batman in 4K. Oh, Matt, you'll be proud of me. I bought Commando on Vudu for $5.
Nice.
I added, I was like, I need some old school Arnold, and I didn't watch it all. I watched about half of it, man, and that's
John Matrix.
that movie's it's actually better than I kind of remember it being. It's actually pretty solid narrative throughout most of it. It gets ridiculous, solid. I know, in the second half when he becomes a one man army and all that, but overall, it's like it's very 80s for sure. But man, it's actually it holds up pretty dang well. I hadn't watched it in years. I'm like, this is way better. I remember watching as a kid thinking it's really cheesy, and it's still got cheesy comedy in it. But at the same time, it's like way better than I remember it being.
I'm not gonna lie.
Commando. It was $5 on Vudu, so I bought it. And
whenever I move something or I'm helping move something and it's big and heavy, I'll throw it over my shoulder. And whenever I walk, I pretend I secretly
feel like you're in John Matrix
at the beginning of Commando. Yeah, when he's got the log on his shoulder.
That's perfectly okay. There is not one of us. There is not one of us on this show or listening to the show that have not one time picked up an item in their house and pretended they're a character from a film or their favorite comic. Whether it's a lightsaber, or whether it's your Nerf guns, or you think you're Neo, you're always there's something we have all done that, and don't play coy over there long. We know you've done it too.
Yeah.
Do what?
Pretended like you were a guy from one of your favorite movies.
Oh.
We've all done it.
Yeah,
we've all done it.
Yeah, we've all done it. I pretended to be Christopher Reeve, and I jumped off of apartment floors being Superman. Didn't break a leg, thankfully.
Yeah.
I was hoping you wouldn't say jump off of a horse. I was like, don't say horse. Don't say horse. I was like,
oh, I did.
Superman
I rewatched.
Never jumped off a horse. I don't understand that joke.
Well, that's how he injured himself. He went horse riding.
After watching, I did watch after watching Suicide Squad last week. I went back and watched Birds of Prey again, and I kind of liked it better the second time I watched it.
Yeah,
it's still not. It's still not great, but I enjoyed it more the second time.
Yeah, I figured
you're right about the police station scene is fantastic.
Yeah. There's no cheat cutaway edits,
Right.
That's why I like it so much.
And Margot
try to hide the action.
And Margot's at the top of her game in it. She's fantastic. It's probably her best of the three movies she's played. Harley, she's probably the best in that one. She's absolutely amazing.
She made me want to eat an egg sandwich.
I know. In fact, I watched it Saturday night after we recorded. I stayed up and watched it, and that's why I forgot. It's been almost a week. But so those are the two. So I was on a little DC kick. Watched The Losers and Birds of Prey. That's about really it this week. I fucking forgot What If is out because I really wanted to watch this episode with Chadwick Boseman, but I'll get it watched this weekend.
Did you know Margot Robbie is allergic to eggs?
What?
Yes. Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. She was allergic to eggs, so she had to try to act like she really craved it.
Well, they used a powder egg for the scene.
Oh.
Or something. So it didn't have real egg in it. It was like flavored powder egg or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Every time
powder
I make
that's
an egg
flavored
sandwich,
like egg?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But for me, I just try to escape reality and play Final Fantasy 14 online, and not to the point where it's like World of Warcraft or anything like that, but oh my god, am I so tempted. But no, I just wrapped up the Stormblood expansion story, and I'm making my way towards the Shadowbringers, the latest expansion story. I should be able to start playing that campaign tomorrow. And but yeah, the story has been really good. where Heaven's Ward, it was about you trying to keep two warring nations from attacking each other. One nation that's dragons versus like kind of like Helm's Deep, trying to prevent that from happening. And then the second story, the second expansion called Bloodstorm, it's about basically trying to liberate two countries that were conquered by an empire, and that's what you've been doing this last expansion. And then, yeah, it's a war story basically, and yeah, looking forward to Shadowbringers. Hopefully, sometime tomorrow.
Nice.
And that's my download this.
Okay. I also went on a DC movie trip, and I watched Batman Dark Knight. I saw a Joker meme, and I was like, I want to watch The Dark Knight. And I was like, man, it's such a good film. I love Heath in it. It just reminded me of his great last performance. And then also, I was tempted to watch Birds of Prey. I didn't. I did watch What If, and I liked it. I'm not going to say much about it. I will say that it's different. It's not how I thought they were going to do the Boseman Star-Lord thing, but it turned out pretty good. It was cool hearing Chadwick for another time. A lot of people came back. Josh Brolin comes back to voice Thanos, and I think Benicio del Toro comes back for the Collector and stuff.
So what was the premise of What If? I know What If comic books. I know that the first one was what if Peggy Carter got the super serum. What's the what if in this one?
The what if is what if Ron I forget Rondu. What if Rondu abducts T'Challa? Yondu. I'm sorry. What if Yondu abducts T'Challa instead of?
Oh, that's an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all you need to say. Yeah, don't give away the plot.
No. So cool stuff. It doesn't. It's not what it doesn't go the way you think. A Star-Lord thing would go. So pretty cool. Go ahead and watch it if you can. So far, so good. I like the series so far. Also watched both SpongeBob movies because kids wanted to watch them.
Which one's your favorite?
I would say, man, it's tough. I kind of like the first one.
Good?
I do find them entertaining. I think the first one is funnier to me. Just the David Hasselhoff, the Twisted Sister, beat song at the end where he's just rocking and defeating Plankton's minions at the end with
Wait, did you
rock and roll?
The new one? Wait, you watched the new one?
The first one. I watched the first one with where they go to Shell City, Goofy Goober, and,
yeah,
my 6-year-old wanted to see the new one. I just haven't rented it yet or anything.
Yeah, I meant to watch it like a few weeks ago when we were at the beach house, but because it had rained a few times, but we ended up not doing it. I feel like I watched something else. Oh, I watched Fast and the Furious again because I got a new vehicle, and I was like, I feel like watching a car movie.
Let the franchise go, Matt. Let the past die.
I watched the franchise whenever it made sense, at least.
What franchise?
Fast and the Furious, the first one.
Oh, I never watched any of them.
Yeah. It's like,
and I plan to keep on living my life without seeing them.
Man, we may do the first one on the show. Who knows?
Doesn't mean I'll watch it. I'll just watch Gone in 60 Seconds instead.
Yeah. I do like Gone. Oh, I did watch Gone in 60 Seconds. That was the other one. But that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I barely liked that movie.
I feel like that movie, the characters had some cool names. Raymond Calitri, Memphis Reigns, A Brother's Love is a Brother's Love,
No, we don't know, Matt.
No, you don't know.
On that note,
How's it?
let's get into today's featured film. Um, a movie that hit theaters in 1987, back when they were trying to adapt popular toy lines as they did into cartoons. And He-Man was a cartoon that was made to sell toys. And but its popularity was extreme. I mean, they sold millions and millions of action figures in the mid 80s all the way into the 90s. The cartoon was highly rated. There was a point, that He-Man was outselling at one time Transformers and G.I. Joe. That's how popular it was. I mean, it was an extremely popular action figure line with castles and animals and vehicles and all kinds of cool characters. So why would Hollywood not want to make a live action movie? And they go and get a somewhat unknown director, and they get Dolph Lundgren, who's coming off of Rocky IV, to star in it, and he looks like He-Man. And that's about as far as this movie got, is to looking like a He-Man film. It was basically Dolph Lundgren, the name of the film. And then this thing gets filmed, and the trailer comes out, and the movie comes out, and it's not what people were thinking a He-Man movie was going to be. So basically the idea is the Masters of the Universe live on Eternia, where they battle for the power of the Greyskull Castle, and He-Man has the power sword. And so Skeletor is the evil villain trying to take over. And the movie's so bizarre. There's some sort of magic key that somehow they have to go to Earth to find. And so the whole movie takes place on Earth, which is weird. So it doesn't even take place on Eternia. So He-Man and Teela and Man-at-Arms and a made-up version of Orko called Gildor, whatever it was, they go to Earth. And then, of course, the bad guys come too. And a bunch of stuff happens as they fight over this key. Then somehow they end up back on Eternia at the end of the movie, which is the best part of the film, where Skeletor and He-Man battle it out. And of course, the good guys save the day. That's kind of a bizarre summary of the movie, but that's kind of how bizarre this film really is. But the movie's, it's watchable. It's got some great set pieces in it. It's got some...
it's watchable.
It's
watchable. It's got great set pieces.
I've never heard you describe a movie like that in a long time. Honestly.
The actors try to buy into this dialogue. It's got a young Courtney Cox in it. The whole thing is just, if you know anything about He-Man, like the whole movie feels like nothing to do with He-Man except the words Eternia and the character names, and I think that's the weirdest part about it. I remember seeing this as a kid. As a kid, I loved it because, as a kid, you're just like, man, it's freaking He-Man Skeletor on the big screen. This is cool. And when you get old enough to watch it, you realize, like, this is not He-Man. It's He-Man, but it's not He-Man. But
He-Man in name only. Yeah.
Yes. But Frank Langella is legit badass in this. I mean, he's talked about this before. It's one of his favorite movie roles. He took it because his grandson begged him to, and it turned out to be one of his favorites. To this day, he'll still talk about how much he enjoyed doing this movie and how much he enjoyed playing Skeletor. And so at least they got some of it right. I would argue they got He-Man right and they got Skeletor right. They got the base idea of Teela and Man-at-Arms and who they were kind of right. But none of the He-Man mythos are in there. Adam's not there to turn into He-Man, so there's no relationship between Teela and Prince Adams. There's no Battle Cat. There's no real Castle Greyskull. You kind of see the stuff take place in the castle, but you never really see it. So it's one of those things that you like, man, why did Hollywood choose to do it like this? It's the ultimate reason is budget restraints, because the original idea was for the movie to take place on Eternia, but they were like, that's going to cost way too much money, so we've got to downsize this. But y'all's initial thoughts on Masters of the Universe, this nostalgic trip of a movie?
I have to admit that when I was a kid, I have the same exact sentiment as you did. Things weren't ticking off the correct boxes, right?
Right.
But I was impressed with some of the special effects in there, especially the way Skeletor entered the real world. With the portal effect. And I remember how intimidating Frank Langella sounded as Skeletor. So
right.
It was pretty intimidating as a kid. So, yeah. But I was kind of like, Orko looks weird. Is that supposed to be Orko? With the dwarf.
So bizarre.
Weird.
weird Muppet
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah, I just largely forgettable movie. So
Yeah. Well, yeah. We haven't even talked about the
I,
bad guys
yeah.
yet, but Matt, yeah, your initial.
Yeah, I mean, I had only seen a few like reruns of He-Man. She-Ra was on TV more, and I just didn't know what to expect. My uncle had the He-Man toys, and I was like, oh, I guess this is what the toys are about. And I just kind of took it for what it was. I just kind of remember, as a kid, I just kind of remember the fight between He-Man and Skeletor at the end, which is kind of rushed now that I'm watching it now. I think they ran into a time constraint, so they had to rush the fight scene. It's supposed to be better and more elaborate, but I watched the early 2000 He-Man cartoons, and it's definitely not what you would expect a He-Man movie to be like. It's not on Eternia, like you said, and but they did what they could with it. Mattel went half and half with Canon Films. Canon kind of blamed it on Dolph for the movie's performance, but Dolph does what he can do. He's
Well,
all right,
he
I
was
guess.
still learning English at the time.
Yeah.
So he had to have a lot of his lines read to him and repeated. Which actually I think he does a pretty good job considering. He complained constantly about filming. He hated it. He hated the costume. He hated the long night shoots because a lot of it shot at night. So he refused to do a lot of press for the film because he just was so fed up with them. They asked him during production to sign on for a sequel, and he basically looked at them and was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I'm not coming back for this." Effectively killing the sequel. The studio still had a script and an idea for a sequel called Masters of the Universe 2 Cyborg, which they ended up turning into a Van Damme movie called Cyborg and using some of that script and completely changing the film. So that didn't help the situation of just your star of the movie being fed up with things. Because I guess they did not tell him it was going to be a lot of overnight shooting when he took the role. So he wasn't real thrilled about that. And a lot of those bodybuilders and like that are very routine. They get up, they work out. They don't work overnight. They sleep. They take care of their bodies. And I guess Dolph wasn't real thrilled about all that. I don't know what the studio was thinking that, it would be a good idea to have Courtney Cox and the other guy and have this revolve around these human characters that are thrown into this situation with these characters. It's like, why? It's like, who thought that was a good idea? Then on the He-Man side, at least you had Tila Man-at-Arms. But then on Skeletor's side, you only had Evil Lynn. You have this Beast guy who I guess is supposed to be Beast Man, but they never call him that. You got this weird-looking troll guy, and then you've got this guy with the knives and whatever. It's like, why could you not created Triclops or Trapjaw or one of the other characters from the Skeletor mythos? It's like, let's make
to sell toys. New characters.
I know why they did it ultimately, but then they didn't even really have toys out for the film. They put out like 2 or 3 toys.
Yeah,
because
not even a Dolph He-Man.
Are they collector's items since they're so rare?
Yeah, I imagine they're probably worth something. Yeah, there wasn't even a Dolph He-Man, so there was nothing to tie the film in. And at this point in '87, and this movie was supposed to be out almost a year earlier, but by the time the movie hit theaters, He-Man was starting to kind of slow down. Yeah, so it wasn't at its popular peak.
Oversaturating the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at this point.
A few years earlier, it would have been more successful.
Mm-hmm. And, but let's talk about some of the, there's a lot of bad in this movie. I mean, it's poorly acted throughout it. But it's a poor plot that doesn't make a lot of sense and has nothing to do with He-Man other than the names and Eternia. But let's talk about the good. And I think the good is the beginning and the end of the movie. The opening sequence that takes place on Eternia is pretty good. And then the ending is fantastic with the fight against Skeletor and all that. It's a lot of fun. And Frank Langella really shines with some of his lines that he actually wrote himself on set because he didn't like the lines in the script. And Frank basically told the director, let me handle this. And he came up with some great lines. And there's some great fight scenes in there. And this movie has a Star Wars connection too. Some of the helmets and stuff that are used on Skeletor soldiers are Death Star gunner helmets that they repainted and that Lucasfilm had let them use and some leftover props from Star Wars. So it saved them some money budget-wise by not having to make new helmets. It's a little Star Wars connection to this film, and which is interesting. So those are the good parts of the film, is the beginning and the end.
And the soundtrack. The music's awesome. Really yeah.
Is it? I guess.
Yeah. Whenever it first started, I was like, man, this reminds me of Superman. Is this a Superman movie? You know? And it's just got that John Williams feel to it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the score's not bad on the film.
Very like epic. I said, and then whenever he says, I have the power.
Oh, that's a cool scene. Well, you know, and Canon Films was known for, you know, a lot of schlock. You know, we have an old episode back in the day where we talked about the Canon Films documentary that's on Netflix and looking back on their history. But this was one of their better looking films. The budget was used well on screen. You know, like I said, when Skeletor enters Earth and some of the fight scenes. So there is some good in this movie that's legitimately pretty well done. It sucks because can you imagine if the whole thing took place in Eternia? You know, you could have done the same plot on Eternia where Skeletor was looking for this magic key, but had it somewhere on Eternia, not go to Earth, and it could have I think it just overall would have been better.
Yeah. No, I agree. You throw more money at it, you know. Mm-hmm. And man, if they would have thrown more money at this thing, had it released two years earlier, and you know, I think you may have had a savior for your film company. You know, it's, you know, instead of having to try and bank it all on Cyborg, which you know made money but not enough to save them. Right. If you've seen the documentary, but man, it could have been better. And I don't know if they wouldn't have cast Dolph at that time. I don't know who they would have cast.
I mean, and there was some great marketing for this film. Yeah, I went back and looked at the trailers. The trailers were well marketed. I felt they were good trailers. Some of the poster artwork, it's Drew Struzan doing some poster artwork, so that's some good poster artwork. There's a documentary, I believe, out on I think it's on the Blu-ray disc, where they talk about this film and everything, or it might even be on YouTube. I can't remember how that documentary got released. And, you know, it looks like everybody on set, you wouldn't know that Dolph Lundgren wasn't happy, because from looking at that, I've seen some behind the scenes stuff of this. It looks like everybody was happy and was having a good time and trying to make the best film they could, you know. And it just, unfortunately, it turned to bad not necessarily in the editing room, because I don't think the movie's poorly edited. It's just a kind of silly, ridiculous plot for a He-Man movie. So it's He-Man characters thrown into a bizarre Earth situation is the best way to describe it, you know. But like I said, it's watchable. You know, I've seen much worse movies, and I think I still like this movie for just some nostalgic reasons. You know, grew up watching it, still He-Man. And there's some, and just for Frank Langella, you know, he's fantastic in it.
Really is the brightest spot. Yeah.
I was so far when we were talking about the Masters of the Universe a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I'm so far removed from He-Man, right? So I've basically forgotten most of the mythos of He-Man.
Right.
None of that really stuck with me throughout my childhood. You know, once it was over, it was over. And then when I was watching this film, I was like, which one of this is the mythos? Because this is kind of a pretty original movie. If I don't, because I don't have really any context of the old cartoon series, you know, and on its own strengths, you know, I thought it was schlocky, as you said.
Yeah.
And you know, the '80s had some pretty wild movies, and it just fits the bill of a typical '80s movie.
Oh, for sure.
Canon film.
Yeah.
And and I don't know if I enjoyed it per se, but I don't even know if I was even entertained. It felt like homework.
It felt like homework.
So I'm like,
My kids liked it.
But Frank Langella kept me entertained.
Yes, anytime he's on scene, he absolutely chews it up, and he's great in the movie. And I think that's why this movie works on any level, is because of him. Yeah.
Well, that lady too, who played Eva Lynn, she was like in a lot of '80s movies as she's legit good, and those are her
those are her natural eyes. She's not wearing contacts. She has kind of grayish blue eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She's always had that weird cold stare about her.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. and they did get the sorceress right for the most part. So there's a few things in there. We even talked about that. But if I was to rate this movie as a movie, it's probably not better than a C+. But for nostalgic reasons, I'll give it a B minus, just because I do like Frank Langella in it. And that's, I know that's being real generous. There's probably someone listening go, he's fucking crazy. What do you mean a B minus? Well, I kind of grew up with it, but as a legit review, probably a C+. It's not a great movie, but it's not a terrible movie either. It's just, it exists because they were trying to, like Matt said, sell more toys.
Yep.
And then they'd even produce the fucking toys to sell.
Yeah.
What would you say, Matt? A C plus?
I say C plus. There, like you said, there's some bright spots that get it to there where it's not, a total failure.
It's way better than Superman 4 for a Canon film. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I think
the production value was pretty much.
I mean, Superman 4 is not even
like a big
barely an
film.
F. Yeah, Superman 4, I don't even know if I get Superman 4 an F. I give it like an H. It's so bad. Yeah, dude.
Give me my money back, kind of thing.
Long, what, give it a ranking, Long.
I give it a D.
Yeah, a little less friendly than us. That's fair enough.
D plus. Was that better?
There we go.
D plus.
Now he's stroking us. He's like, all right.
Well, whatever he's stroking, I don't want to know. But that brings us to our top 5 for the week. Is a little twist on the top 5 because we honestly, a little behind the scenes on the podcast, we sometimes not argue, but we go back and forth with each other what the top 5 should be because we want it to be good and fun, and sometimes it's difficult to come up with a really good one. And that was kind of my thoughts early on in the week. I'm like, man, what should the top 5 this week? So I was like, let's have some fun with this, and let's cast 5 roles in a He-Man movie if we were to make a He-Man film with today. I guess I'll start it. My first character, the only requirement was we had to all at least pick He-Man and Skeletor. Then we could pick 3 other characters. At 5, I have Evil Lynn, and I would cast Angelina Jolie. I think she would be a badass Evil Lynn, and I just think she can play evil, and we know she can be an action star, and have a little bit of sexiness to it too. So Angelina Jolie would be my Evil Lynn.
It's a good one.
My number 5 is Pete Davidson as Orko.
That would be a good Orko. Very funny.
Well, and I thought about that, like at least the voice, because I thought like if they were to make a modern He-Man movie, that Beastman and Orko are probably going to be CGI.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Motion or like mocap. Yeah.
I did Megan Fox as Evelyn.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Hey man, I
felt like Megan Fox.
I was so bored the other day. I almost watched her war movie, Rogue.
Really?
Because it's on like Amazon Prime or something. I heard it's like not as bad as people think. That it's legitimately kind of watchable. But then I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I checked IMDb to see if there were any nude scenes in it. When it said no, I'm like, okay, I'm not watching it. So yeah.
I bought Jennifer's Body a few weeks ago. If you want to get on my Voodoo account, you can watch Jennifer's Body.
I watched that once. It was horrible. A number for my number 4 character, I chose Man at Arms, and I picked Liam Neeson. Man, he'd have to grow the mustache. He'd have to grow the mustache and stuff. But man, I think Liam Neeson could play that strong father figure to Tila and kick some ass too. Well, we know Liam Neeson can kick some ass. He's one of the most bad motherfuckers in the whole world. He's a former knuckle boxer. We know Liam Neeson kicks some ass. So I think Liam Neeson would be a cool Man at Arms.
My number 4 is the same as you, Mark. Angelina Jolie for Evelyn. So, yeah, Maleficent was a good template for her to play that role. So, yeah,
nice.
Specifically,
I kind of stuck with the movie character, instead of going back to the original, who should have been cast, but Danny DeVito as Gwildor, just because he's short and just he's DeVito, man.
Yeah.
Man, I was reading. It's funny because I was reading something the other day about like him, and as much as he's a jokester and he cracks up, apparently like on set, he's like, if you're out of line, he'll straighten people up. Like DeVito's like, hey, we're here to work. It's time to work. Let's play. But then at the same time, he can turn on the comedy like that. They say, yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
That he's like that.
Dang.
You ever watch Philadelphia thingy?
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Sunny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a fucked up show.
Yeah.
At number 3, I chose to recast Tila, and my screen crush currently, my favorite actress, Margot Robbie. I mean, she could crush it as Tila easily, and she's so hot, hottest chick on the planet, no lie.
My number 3 for Man at Arms is Tom Selleck. He's already got the mustache.
Yeah,
and he has that masculine, fatherly look to him. So I picked Tom Selleck as Man at Arms.
Good one.
And I also have Man at Arms at 3, but I was thinking more of a Rambo type of Man at Arms, so I got Stallone as Man at Arms. Why not? Why not?
Well, here's my thing.
He-Man.
Hey, listen. Here's the thing, though. When you think Master of the Universe, like they're all muscly, right? They're all big guys, but they're not bigger than He-Man. And I thought Stallone. I actually thought Schwarzenegger, but I was like, no, because he's bigger than He-Man. See what I'm saying? Man at Arms has to be just a little bit smaller than He-Man. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you better come strong with your He-Man. All right, that's all I'm saying. At number 2, obviously we're getting the top 2. As for Skeletor, man, I chose Idris Elba. Man, I think he could play a good villain, and put him in some great makeup effects and make a badass Skeletor. Has Idris played a villain before? Well, not that crappy Fast and Furious movie. I didn't watch that shit, But he just like, man, I really like him a lot as an actor, and I think if he could grit his teeth and play something really bad and evil, he'd probably be a badass in it.
Yeah.
My number 2 is kind of a well, I just went with Bruce Willis as Skeletor because freaking why not?
I don't even see that at all, but okay.
Everyone's always going for like
that's
in
left
your face charismatic. Yeah,
that's not even left field. That's left center field, dog.
Well, the dude is phoning it in anyway, so he might as well play Skeletor. So that's why I picked Bruce Willis.
Oh, Bruce Willis now, not 1998
right.
or 1988.
Right. I'm talking about now Bruce Willis. Oh.
Might as well pick Nick Cage if that's the case.
I know.
No.
Even though I've heard Pig is legit freaking good.
Yeah.
That's what I keep seeing. I haven't
What's
seen
it about?
Yet,
pig? I know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's about him raising a pig or what?
Charlotte's Web?
No, I think it's more of like a horror type film.
A horror movie?
Yeah, I think it's more a truffle hunter lives alone in the Oregon wilderness, must return to his past and port in search of his beloved foraging pig after she is kidnapped. Okay, so it's not a horror movie. He's saving a pig.
No.
Okay.
Interesting. So, I've got Anthony Serkis as Skeletor because I just think he's a great voice actor, and I think that getting him in a suit and makeup would make for he's not maybe doesn't look the Skeletor type. He may not maybe undersized, but I think
I'll give Serkis more credit than that. I think Serkis is a legitimately good actor too.
Yeah,
not just a mocap actor. I think he's good.
Yeah. I saw him in this mocap suit playing Snoke, and he's really intense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, look, some of the.
Yeah.
I mean, this might be giving something away, but a movie we're doing in a couple weeks from now, man. If you look at the behind the scenes stuff from that film, oh yeah, he's definitely into the role.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, number one, my He-Man, man. This might be cliche, man, but I chose Dave Bautista. You're gonna have to give him some blonde locks and stuff, but there's not a badder motherfucker on the planet, I think, right now that can play He-Man. It's too easy to pick The Rock, and The Rock is a little too Samoan, I guess. He-Man should be a little more, classic look, I think. And that's not. I'm not trying to be unpolitically correct or anything. That's just my belief. I think Dave Bautista could legitimately buy him as He-Man. As a badass. And my runner-up for that was kind of Jason Momoa. I could buy Jason Momoa as He-Man too, But I look at Momoa as more a Conan, which he has played Conan. I know that, but yeah, Dave Bautista as He-Man.
I picked my number one for He-Man is Chris Hemsworth.
See, I felt too easy, but I get it. Yeah. Oh yeah. And he was attached to the live action project at one point. Yeah. Yeah, his name was floated around at one point.
Hemsworth, but I'd rather go with Arnold. So Arnold's actually my actual pick. Mr. Universe Arnold.
Yes.
Not the film physique Arnold. I'm talking about when he was in his bodybuilding phase. So
Hercules in New York Arnold.
Yeah, that
big one. Yeah, same here. I'm with you, Long. I was thinking more of his Conan, but that's not many years past Hercules in New York. He can just speak a little bit more English.
And wasn't he still competing in competitions even when he started acting?
In Hercules in New York, yes.
No, but even in the Conan, did he compete into the 80s, or did he stop competing by then?
80s. It was like 84 was his last year, I believe.
That's what I was saying, because I think when he made the first Conan, he was still competing. So, so he was still in that tip-top shape. Mm-hmm. I remember reading that somewhere. It was about 84. And then when he realized, it was either Hollywood or competing, he kind of couldn't do both, and he chose Hollywood. Plus, he realized he could make a shit ton of money, So, yeah. I mean, that's kind of why The Rock stopped wrestling. He's like, why do I want to go wrestle and travel week after week after week after week for $7 to $8 million a year when I can go work for 25 days and make $8 million right away on a movie? I mean, I can see why The Rock did it, and be home with his family. So
exactly,
it makes sense. So let's do some news. Good top five, guys. That was fun. We got a trailer for the Eternals, the next big Marvel film after Shang-Chi, and it's been the Marvel trailers I usually take with a bit of a grain of salt because, we kind of know what we're going to get from Marvel. But, man, I legit really like this trailer. It looks epic, man. Considering their characters I'm not familiar with, I just thought it looked badass. I'm, actually pretty pumped for this movie. Was that Galactus in there? What do y'all think? It sure looked like it.
Galactus?
Maybe so.
It sure looked like it.
Yeah, but the helmet shape at least.
Yeah, but god dang, it looks as epic as the Infinity War films. I mean, that's how I felt about it.
Speaking of trailers, did you guys catch the Foundation trailer for Apple TV?
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, it looks
interesting. It definitely has a scope to it. They spent some money on that show for sure.
Yeah, Foundation is another one of those great American sci-fi novels, up there with Dune.
Yeah, it's never been adapted.
Yeah, because it's hard to adapt.
Yeah. We got a trailer for Star Wars Visions, which is the anime project coming with different animators working on different Star Wars stories. This is coming pretty soon, September 22nd, I believe, and it looks really cool. Yeah, I was a different take on Star Wars, but it looks really exciting. Looks like it could be a really, really well done, fun show. And all of us are fans of anime and stuff, so I think we're all Star Wars fans. I think we'll definitely be behind watching this. I know Longy didn't keep up with the Bad Batch, and I haven't either, but I'm pretty sure you're going to be down with Star Wars Visions, huh?
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah. It looks really cool. While we just discussed Masters of the Universe, and Masters of the Universe Revelation is on Netflix right now, there's also another He-Man show coming on Netflix, a CGI one called He-Man, the Masters of the Universe. That trailer came out. First off, it's a really long trailer. It's almost 4 minutes. I'm watching. I'm like, is this thing ever going to end? It's definitely more He-Man for kids. It looks a little geared towards children. Different designs. The CGI is kind of bulky and bizarre, but hey, if it gets kids into He-Man, I'm cool with it. It doesn't look bad or anything. It just looks like it's geared more towards children. And it comes out on Netflix like September 12th in a couple weeks.
The original.
Yeah. And
the original He-Man was basically a commercial for
sure,
just like Transformers was. So
yeah.
And then lastly, they announced a Catwoman animated film, and I don't know if I guess this is part of the DC Universe films. It's called Catwoman Hunted. It's going to be done in an anime style, similar to how they did Batman Ninja, which I was not a fan of Batman Ninja. Of all the animated films they've done, that one I just really didn't.
I never watched it.
I really didn't care for it, that one very much at all. Yeah, it was just bizarre. It was weird. It just wasn't very interesting. But I started thinking about this Catwoman Hunted. It was more like, why have they not made a Catwoman movie yet? In the animated style. It seems like she would have had one by now. So that's kind of cool. So I think that's good. But that's all the news I had. Unless there's something you guys can think of that I forgot. But I scoured the news, and that's all I saw for this week. But but definitely, I'm excited for Eternals. Shang-Chi is getting some pretty positive reviews. Comes out in a couple weeks. Actually, wait, what's next week, right? Yeah. No, it's only the 20th. September 3rd, so the week after next. Yeah, it's a couple weeks it comes out. But legit,
Labor Day.
Yeah, it's a Labor Day weekend release. So next week's show, we speaking of anime, we're going to talk a all-time anime classic, a movie that most anime fans are familiar with, a super action-packed film with some great animation, and that is Ninja Scroll.
Know that they won't leave you alone. You have already killed one of the 8 devils of Kimon.
Who are these 8 devils of Kimon?
They are a group of ninja who work for the Shogun of the Dark. Kimon monsters will be after the both of you. 3 of us have a common enemy.
Tell me, why did you join him, Jubei?
He hired me.
A ninja for hire?
Please leave this Jubei to me. I will kill him myself.
You'll have to give up soon.
Must not be underestimated.
Kill him! I never expected to see you again. Jubei, give up!
This is a fight for power between the Tokugawa government and the Shogun of the Dark.
I have them!
Look out!
What are you planning to do?
Why was I brought here?
If you kill me now, you will surely die as well.
You are difficult to kill, ninja.
If you want to kill me, you mustn't make any sound at all.
They're planning something. Gold is that cargo. If that gold reaches the hands of the Shogun of the Dark, the country will plunge into another civil war. So we must stop it.
I'll use the gold to organize the most powerful army of ninja ever. And we will rule the country with terror and power from the shadows.
When you fight the devil, be a devil yourself!
I won't let you die before I torture you enough to pay me back.
If you so want the company of devils, you better hurry back to hell, Gemma.
Man, this is one of my first forays into adult animation, other than the American heavy metal. I had never seen really an adult anime until I watched Ninja Scroll, and I was like, "Wow, this is ultra violence and there's lots of boobs in it." Yes. that was my initial thought when you're like 14 years old and you watch this. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And when you get older, you appreciate the complexity of it, and you realize that this is a really great action film with a really cool story. And I'm actually really looking forward to talking about this movie because it's been a while since we've done an anime on the show. Man, Ghost in the Shell might be the last one we did, was sometime last year. So it's been a bit. So that's next week's show. I know you guys have all seen Ninja Scroll, and no first time viewers on this one.
No.
I have the Blu-ray release, which is legit really great transfer, so it'd be fun to watch. I don't know if this movie's available on Funimation or any of those streaming sites, so you might be on your own out there to watch Ninja Scroll with us. I lied last week. I got to start looking this shit up. I said Masters of the Universe is on Netflix and Amazon Prime, and it was. Then I went to look, and it's not on there. Luckily, I had it on Blu-ray, so I watched it. So my apologies. I said Masters of the Universe was on Netflix or Amazon Prime, and it was, but it wasn't. So,
that's okay, Mark. I was going off my 35-year-old memory of the film when I watched it as a kid. So it's not like I've never seen the movie.
Right.
Nice.
So until that's next week's show that will be Ninja Scroll. And remember the rebelradiopodcast.com is where you can find everything you need for the show. And just continue to be safe out there. We have a Facebook group, which has gotten a lot of new members in it lately because Facebook changed it where anybody can join groups now. And unfortunately, though, that means I have to watch for spam. I don't know if you guys noticed the group. I'm having to delete a lot of posts. And that's why I put an announcement on there about please, stick to the format of what the show is and not just post junk. And I wasn't trying to be an asshole, but at the same time, I don't want to delete a bunch of fucking spam all the time. The group is there for our listeners and for us to promote our show, and that's what it's there for, not for spam. So it is what it is. So until next week, like I said, be safe. Thank you as always for listening. This has been live from Eternia. This is Mark.
This is Matt.
This is Long, the Lord of Castle Greyskull.
Remember, as always, until next time, just go there and do it.
Go there and do it.
Do it.